Welcome to the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast, connecting you to the leading minds in home improvement to discuss all things marketing and leadership. And now, your host, Kyle Powers.
Welcome to the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Powers. I have a very interesting episode for the listeners today, as I have not one, but two guests on the show today. First guest got to start actually kind of on the production side, doing woodworking and things like that. Eventually moved into sales, then sales management, and is now an owner of his own home improvement company. The second guest got to start, much like me, out knocking on doors and canvassing and running a canvassing team, and has done many other forms of lead generation, including event management, as well as even being on the phones, and is currently the brand ambassador for TightSeal Exteriors Baths. So I'd like to welcome to the show Kevin Kabaczinski and Jacob Hahn. Hello, Jake and Kevin. How are we today?
Doing well.
Awesome. Hey, really excited to have you guys on the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast today to kind of get a different perspective out to the listeners and a little bit of a unique podcast here at really from an owner's perspective as well as a marketer's perspective. What's it like in growing your business? You've been on quite a journey the last handful of years, Kevin, at taking it from a real kind of more of a mom and pop side of things with, you yourself selling on up to, having multiple departments and teams and managers and leaders. And so I'm really excited to get your perspective on that. I'm sure the listeners will be also. And Jake, to hear from you as, a marketer in the business that has grown with the business and, in your current role of brand ambassador, and to talk about that program a little bit. But before we really get into it, Kevin, can you maybe give the listeners a little bit of a background, kind of who you are, where you came from the industry, and what you're doing now?
Well, I grew up in the industry. My dad built houses, brother built houses. Went to school to actually learn how to build houses, but ended up getting into custom woodworking. Thought I was going to be, how do I put it? Thought I was going to do it for the rest of my life, and because of like creating things. Well, what I realized is it's not about what I was doing; it's just the building, the creating, and led me to where I'm at right now, building a successful business,
Sure,
a different type of business, I guess.
Yeah, and your first kind of step into that side of the business was you were hired as a salesman at a company, right?
Correct.
That was your first kind of getting out of the woodwork.
Correct.
And then from there, sales manager.
Yep.
And then that's when really seeing what people do it good and what people do wrong kind of moved you into saying, hey, I think I can build something, better, faster, stronger, so to say. And here we are today. And you're currently the owner of what company?
TightSeal Exteriors Baths.
Out of?
Milwaukee.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you for that background. And Jake, a little background, kind of where have you come from?
Yeah, I just got a job about 15 years ago as a canvasser, moved my way into a sales position, eventually a canvas manager, events manager, all kinds of different companies I've worked with in the many years I've been in the industry, and slowly but surely, found my niche, if you will, as a brand ambassador and, just a marketing leader, if you will, for TightSeal here.
Sounds good. And Kevin, TightSeal currently about how many employees do you have?
We are just over 30.
Just over 30 employees. All right. And with that, you have a host of, the common departments company would have, of course, production, sales, marketing on the marketing side. I know, you have call center, you have canvassers, you have the brand ambassador program. When events were available to run in this COVID world, you did events, and hopefully those will be rebounding here in 2021. But you have all the common departments a large company would have. And I guess my first question for you would be, what was it like coming out of, you and your partner starting this, this business, and you're selling and almost kind of generating leads and maybe have one marketer, but, what was kind of that journey from that to, 30 some employees and having those, multiple teams?
It's definitely been a journey. It's very, I guess, fulfilling. You look at like where we're at now, 30 people, 30 families that depend on success, that we're successful. in a short time,
Yeah.
which was learned a lot from like people like yourself, Tony Hody, have helped develop, I guess, our company, not even just our company, the culture, I guess, also, which is probably one of the most important things.
Yeah, that's a great point right there. I mean, using outside help, using people that have done it before or know how to do it. That's one thing I've really liked about your journey. I've been a part of it for about 1.5 years now. Is that you're never afraid to reach out and ask for help or ask for seeing a different way to do things, and then really taking those ideas that people give you and putting them into action. And so for the listener, if you are even it's the smallest of companies or for a large company, even continually getting that outside looking in that can maybe see something that, that you don't see is definitely good to get. What are some of the struggles you had early on when you were looking to maybe bring in some managers or someone to just get out there and generate leads for you, whether that be on the phone or as a canvasser? What were some of maybe the pitfalls that you ran into at first?
I think the biggest pitfall, or I don't want to say mistake, poor hiring, not hiring the right people for the right positions, because that's really the key to growth. If you don't have the right leader in place, it's going to affect the rest of the team. So making sure that you hire hard. You're never going to be a 100% accurate with it, but that was a big challenge. I like to look at things from the back end first, making sure that the customer is going to be 100% satisfied. Recruiting has been a very big challenge, even during this 2020. You would think that there'd be, I know you hear all the unemployment. Well, where are they?
Right.
It's tough to find good people.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily tough to find people, but it's definitely tough to find those
Good.
good people when you're
Correct.
being selective in really trying to build that team. And you bring up a great point with that, about the mishires and learning from it. I don't really think it's a mistake as long as you learn from it, and you certainly have had in your processes and things like that you put together to try to limit those mistakes, so to say. But I did a podcast with Chris Williamson on, recruiting and stuff. And that's always a question we get often, how do you find good people and onboard them? And it's a lot of work there. So I think you hit the nail on the head that, learning from that. And I think that's a great point. If someone's trying to, grow their business, finding the right people to help you do it is definitely key there. And so what are some of the plus side or some of the good things that have happened now that you've gotten some of those leaders in place and the right people on the right seats in the bus?
There's a lot. It was tough to transition from being a little bit more hands-off and letting people make mistakes. But what it did was it actually opened up me to focus on other things and actually really grow. Because that's where there was not a quantum leap, but when we went from our first year, we did $1 million. But when I stepped out of sales and really worked on sales and not in it, we grew. But it ties back to having the right people in place and processes also, for them to follow. And if they don't have something to follow, it has to be created. And that's why I think it worked really well when we brought Tony Hody Consulting and yourself get to that point.
Appreciate that.
And still.
Yeah, appreciate that. And so, those are the key phrase I think that you used there was the whole working on instead of in your business. And especially for that smaller business, you have to wear many hats, right? I mean, I've seen you back in the woodworking department. I've seen you in a sales meeting. I've seen you in a call center, just doing whatever needs to be done to keep your business going along. And I think even for a big company, I think leaders and or owners can get stuck in those situations where they start spending, again, too much time in their business. And it doesn't allow them, to really grow and to let other people grow in those positions as well. And so I think you've done a fantastic job at doing that has allowed your very recent, growth and everything. And so kind of leaving that there when you're adding these different departments and you're adding these lead generation, what are some of the things that you kind of had to learn about it? Like, budget wise, I mean, just kind of anything that you could put out to the listeners that, maybe kind of caught you by a little bit surprise, because coming from the sales world in the home improvements, I mean, you knew about lead generation. Obviously, you ran the leads and stuff, but lead generation wasn't a main role for you coming up in this business. So what was some of the things that maybe surprised you or that you really had to learn? Or
following the numbers, using the numbers to your advantage and holding people accountable to those numbers. When I was just in sales, it was somewhat easy. You focus on, hey, I need 10 leads this week, and I know if I get 10 leads, I'm going to bring in $25,000 to $50,000, in business. And that was my own personal goal. But then when you have a team that has to hit a certain goal, and if they don't hit that goal, what do you do? How do you make sure that they do hit that goal? Mm-hmm. That's probably one of the most important things that I've learned with the marketing end of it. And it's on almost on a micro level, because you know how many leads you need. Now it goes from that lead. Are we converting? What's the percentage that we're converting? How many of those are turning into a demo, and the percentage in the closing, keeping track of those main metrics, the KPIs, is very important.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Learning numbers. I mean, there's so many companies and potential clients that I talk with that, I might ask, hey, what's your cost of a lead, or what does it cost you to issue an appointment, or, hey, what NSLI do you like to, hold your salespeople accountable? And, when they give those numbers, a lot of times they don't jive with each other, to come out at the profit at the end of the day. And that's essentially why they're calling me, is they're trying to figure that all out. And so knowing your numbers is a huge thing at, what you got to put out on a daily basis to cover overhead, to just make it all work. And so that is a really great point there with that. What is something that you really enjoy about the lead generation side, looking at it from a sales perspective and an owner's perspective? What's something you really enjoy with that process?
Motivating. I think being able to help mold somebody's life, take it from, how do I put it? Mindset. Most people I didn't know this back when I was younger, how powerful books were. Mm-hmm. You can take, I don't know what it was, that it was LeadCon. There was a speaker that had said something. I think it was Bob Quillen.
It was.
Where read one book and you just got a lifetime of information. If you can teach people that, they can grow. And to see that growth,
it's been fun watching your journey, Jake. It coming
probably what I appreciate the most.
Yeah, with the history of the business and doing well, you've always done well when it comes to lead generation. But to really see you over the last 6 months grab a hold of this brand ambassador program and turn it into something pretty awesome has been great to see. So Kevin, kind of going back to you on the books and changing people's lives, and what I see with that is when you bring somebody in that maybe applied to the job because it's entry level in marketing, and this is really why I continue to do what I do. And my favorite part of it too is coaching people to become their best selves. A lot of people don't even know what they can become and what's possible. And so, yeah, as Bob Quillen put it, one of his biggest things and to his success is he's taught his people how to become better people and how to grow, and in all facets, not just in their career, but in their life. And when that happens with people, turnover goes down in your business, which is a huge thing for our entry-level positions in our industry. When you can get turnover lower and you can get people to grow, I mean, that's when those elite teams really come in, to be seen and to do really well, and profitability and all that kind of stuff. So that's awesome that we kind of align in that way at getting people to grow on that marketing side. Because a lot of times, when they come into that entry-level position, they don't know what's possible. They just need a paycheck next week to pay their rent. And when you can show them they can have a career, and to watch a marketer that goes from a canvasser or a caller and then maybe goes into a lead position and then maybe into one of your marketing managers. I decided myself to stay on the marketing side, much like you, Jake, with having some sales experience and selling in the house and stuff. But, really to see them to grow and take hold and become your, into sales or sales management, or, in essence, your general manager that you have now, Kevin. He started out as a completely green person in sales and really took hold of that growth from you. So it's always awesome to watch people's journeys and really see them succeed. So I thank you for that. Kind of want to bring it over to Jake on your side of things as being an employee of the business, moving into that brand ambassador role, and kind of tie it all in with the both of you at the end. So Jake, in your journey of being a canvasser, being an event person, I've known you've been on the phones before, you've kind of done all facets of it. What is it about the brand ambassador program that you kind of see a difference, or that you really like, that you've really been able to excel in?
What I most appreciate is not that I deserve the accolades, but receiving some of the accolades from the customers and seeing the genuine smiles and appreciation for the jobs that we do for them, having that concern for the aftercare and having that concern for their well-being, that really gives that full circle of, just taking care of everything, making sure that their satisfaction is met, and making sure that, they're happy, creating that happy customer, creating that person that, wants to buy more stuff, that wants to refer their neighbors and friends, relatives, that, wants to put on the reviews or do any of the things that, my responsibilities as the brand ambassador is. And it makes me feel good knowing that we're taking care of them. It doesn't, I've worked for other companies where, let's face it, some of the, owners and or installers weren't the greatest and things weren't done properly. And when things are done properly and you go to that customer's house and they enthusiastically tell you how grateful and appreciative they are of you and the company and the service that they've received, it just makes you go home knowing that you're doing a good job. And that I can sleep at night and I know that, I'm making a good wage, and plus I'm helping people.
Absolutely.
It's more service than selling, you know what I mean? It's serving that customer and, showing them that you care. And that's what I like best about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. As a marketer and or a salesperson in any organization, the more you believe in what you're doing and that you're taking good care of the customer, and hey, face it, right? I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Company's not perfect. We do make mistakes,
right.
But it's how you handle them and how you overcome them and still make the customer happy at the end of the day. When you're a marketer or a salesperson in an organization like that, it makes you really want to go out and get the leads or get the business because you
right.
believe in everything that's there. It's tough when you have, maybe work for a company with a lot of bad reviews, no reviews, and you start hearing those negative things on the doors. I've been there. Oh, you're with that company, hey, no, forget about it. You can just get off my step. And it doesn't make you feel very good as a marketer
right.
when you're out knocking on a door and they're yelling at you because your company messed them up, and so that is a great thing and a very powerful thing. And that's exactly what that brand ambassador program helps cultivate, is getting those good stories out, not only to the employees, but to the consumers, with those reviews. I mean, I think right now as a company, I think you guys have surpassed over 300 5-star reviews at this time of this recording.
Or
I know you're right.
Last time I looked.
What's that?
298 yesterday, I thought.
Yeah, I know you're like right there.
Yeah.
You're right there.
I got two
so.
Jake's got to get going here quick.
Yeah. And so, but it wasn't like that 6 months ago. I mean, you had some good reviews out there, but you didn't have, and I was just talking to Tony the other day, actually, and I think you might have a screenshot of your reviews before we started working with you on the brand ambassador program and get those built up. So it'd be to compare where you came from to where you are now. But as an owner, Kevin, what has those reviews done for you business-wise?
I know it definitely does make the customer more at ease. Helps out with sales, definitely. I mean, it everybody goes and reads the reviews. Me personally, I think it was. Do you remember that customer up towards Hartford? We went back to the customer's house. Never even thought about this. That we found out is a lot of times they won't tell the installers that there's something that they don't like. Remember the scratch in the door?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So the lady never said anything about it. She could have said it right there, and she knew it was there. But we obviously addressed the issue. We had to replace the door. At that point, it was kind of late to figure out if it was damaged in transit or if we damaged it, whatever it was. Sure. But she would have never called us back.
Right.
She would have never used us again. That subliminally would have been negative in her mind.
Right.
Yeah, and she may not have left a bad review, but if somebody ever asked her, I'm sure she probably went to recommended you to them.
Correct.
that way. And so as the brand ambassador, so Jake, you went out to that house, you found out that she was not quite 100% satisfied,
Right.
but in the long run, then we were able to make her 100% satisfied. And I'm sure now she's a raving customer, for you
Absolutely.
guys, because you guys took the extra step and it really went out there. So when generating leads, Jake, around the brand ambassador program compared to just your standard, lead gen, whether you're at an event, canvassing, anything, what do you think some of the differences are that you run into when you're dealing with previous customers? I know recently you have set a whole bunch of people that you're out visiting with that just got the job done for additional work on their home. So, kind of what does it do for that, as well as, getting, as we call it, the R's, the repeats, the referral, and then the radius around that local job site. Tell me about generating compared to just normal lead generation.
I mean, well, and again, to go back to like the customers, I've found a lot of success with that because, again, they already know the experience, they already know the company, they know who we are, their trust is already established. And, if affordability is there, it's an easy process, especially when you do the brand ambassador properly by giving them a gift card for future projects, so forth in that regards. The other process is just because the neighbors in the neighborhood, they know Bill and, Mary Johnson or whoever, did the work. So they know that customer because they've had, barbecues over at their house. They know these people. Just yesterday, in fact, I went to a customer's house that was a bathroom was done because the neighbor across the street had a bathroom done. And, he's like, yeah, I went over to Gary's house and I saw his bathroom, and that's why I knew to call you guys. And I was pleasantly surprised when you guys did our bathroom. And it's just that trust that's already kind of established that really helps us out in that regards. And again, it's just, doing the processes right and knowing how to talk to people and getting them to understand why it's important for them, to serve them. Because again, when anyone, gets good work done, they want to make sure that they're ultimately having that good work taken care of for their neighbor and friend.
Yeah, so I can completely agree with you on those, setups of what that does, going out and visiting with that previous customer in that local area. Essentially, what I hear you say is you're kind of making it a warm lead when you go to those doors, and when you talk to them, it's not so much as just going and knocking on someone's door that has no idea who you are. It's a little more of a welcome reception, and especially in the time is now, with COVID, when you're literally pointing at the job sign and said, yeah, we did John and Sandy's bath. And oh, that was you? Yeah, absolutely. I can remember I was working with a client down in Ohio, ran a brand ambassador appointment, and 2 houses away, ended up setting the lady up for also a bath. And that's what the person had gotten done, and she knew who they were. And I don't think as a normal canvasser, aspect that necessarily wouldn't have been able to get that appointment. But it was for the fact that I was like, yeah, I was just with them and I just gave them a gift as a thank you for their, business, and took some pictures, and, oh yeah, I was over to see that shower. That was you guys, Right. And she was, because she was a single female, and I was a gentleman at her door, she was a little apprehensive to give me information. And I think that had it just been on a regular lead generation side, I don't know if that appointment would have happened.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, again, it all goes back to that trust that's established, and, just having that, knowledge of who they are. And, again, the referral, side of things, everything that works with this program, it just helps establish that trust, I think, a little bit more so than, allows that sale to happen a little bit easier. And like you said, it creates that warm and fuzzy lead that we all love and appreciate.
And looking at the numbers over the last 90 days, I mean, the program alone is generating north of $100,000 every month for the last 90 days. And it's kind of broken down from me looking at it was about, 40% repeat, 40% referral, and about 40% repeat, 40% the radius, and then about 20% of the referral. So still finding that the referral is kind of the toughest to get.
Yeah, I agree.
They're more okay with adding additional business themselves, and or than you getting, the radius on the, 15 to 25 doors in the area, maybe a few more if you have time. But, that's kind of where that business is coming from. So those numbers are pretty stellar. I mean, and that's from one marketer, that's from just you. So that's great. You're doing very well with the program.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to train you around that, because you take the information and go out and run with it. And as a whole, Kevin, brand ambassador program, we talked a little bit about what you like about the reviews and what it does for you, but overall in the program, it's something that you've added to your marketing mix. Your thoughts on that?
It's something that definitely is going to be there for a long time. Pretty soon here, we're going to have to actually probably add somebody else with the amount of business that we're generating. But with that, at the end of the day, we make sure that the customer is satisfied. And that's what you look at. Most companies that have been around for a long time, that have that longevity, they actually care that the customer is getting what they pay for. And that's, I think, key, moving forward, especially with the internet. You look at, everybody goes to Google, and then when they're there, I mean, how hard is it to put a review up? But most people forget. I'll do it tomorrow. But it's definitely been an interesting, I would have never guessed that it would have worked out as well as it has.
Absolutely. And so kind of coming to, the last section here, powerful points, of the podcast. I appreciate you both being on the show and sharing your thoughts, but what's maybe, Kevin, do you got a powerful point for the listeners?
Hire the right person for the position. Very clear, defined definition, expectations, in writing, and accountability. Making sure that they're being held accountable to the numbers that, they agreed to, because that's, at the end of the day, when you look at, like, we have over 30 families to feed, everybody depends, on it. And that's how we put our business plan together, is around marketing. That's where it starts.
Right. Absolutely. And Jake, do you got maybe to the fellow canvassers, marketers, brand ambassadors out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the
them?
biggest things that's kind of kept me in line and it got me the success that I have is just having a steady, daily goal. Having that, and my daily goal is I have to hit 75 doors. I do at least 2 customer visits a day, 10 visits per week. I'm working generally, 8-hour day, but, generating 3 appointments a day, having that goal of, what I need to accomplish by the end of the week, and staying to that goal and making sure that I'm hitting those goals, and having that accountability where, I'm calling you, Kyle, at night and saying, or texting you, hey, I got, 85 doors and 4 set appointments, that type of thing. And I got, 2 customer visits with this many referrals, blah, 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 whatever, and just having a set goal and, sticking to it. Because again, when you say you're going to do it and having that positive thinking, you're going to do it, and if you don't have a goal, then you're just blindly, going through the motions, if you will. And that's, one of the things that why I feel my success has been more so than the past couple months, because of I have to do this. And if, I know if I'm going to hit 75 doors, I know I'm going to get 3 appointments at least. I know I'm going to, if I do 2 customer visits, I know I'm going to get at least, 2 reviews, and I'm going to get, all these things that, again, help us out and help myself out, my bottom line. I mean, let's face it, I'm here for my, my paycheck. And, at this end of the day, I'm also here to represent the company. And again, it's all kind of full circle in that respect, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. What gets measured gets
right. Absolutely.
Managed, right? And so the accountability, and I think that's where a lot of companies can drop the ball, quite frankly, is, they put these goals out and they don't get specific, like you're talking about. Like, you have a certain amount of visits you have to do, a certain amount of reviews you have to get, a certain amount of doors to knock, a certain amount of all of that, which if you do each of those things, then gets you to the goal that's written up there, right? And the same thing for you, Kevin. I mean, coming from ownership to lay those out, and I see a lot of companies that lay that stuff out to their employees, but then they never check to make sure that it's actually getting done. And just simply, like you said, having, for you marketing managers, canvas managers, anybody that call center managers that might be listening to this podcast, just very simply having your teammates text you at the end of the night or write on the board what they got for the day to hold them accountable can go a long ways into hitting those goals and everything. So again, thank you both for being on the podcast today. I look forward to continue working with you guys and see the growth that you're hoping to achieve. So with that,
thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast. For a free consultation on how Tony Hoty Training and Consulting can assist with your home remodeling business, please visit TonyHoty.com. That's TonyHoty.com. Thank you for listening.